bear, to me, it's just like yield. To me, yield is just like yield, DCA for prices, stuff like that. Again, none of this is financial advice. I don't think it's just like stuff that, we're thinking of or otherwise. But to me, that's the first thing that strikes me is yield, DCA, and then when prices go up, you decide what to do from there, and you've been accumulating the whole time. Maybe we'll bounce off that for a minute, and then bull. How do you see the bull and bear? Like, we've been the bear for a long time now. Do you see your strategies changing in the bull?
No, yeah, 100%, man. Especially when we're getting Uniswap V3 dexes on PulseChain, like 9mm. I think their stuff is fairly close around the corner. At least Deva has hinted at that. That completely changes the game in terms of like what options you have for generating income during a bull market. And you can use V3 liquidity to generate income in both a bull and a bear, but I think it's way more powerful in a bull market, especially if you're holding the assets that you want to have throughout the entire bull market.
Is there a particular reason that V3 changes some of the strategies?
Yeah, man, because it's just it's concentrated liquidity. So you can set your liquidity within a specific range from price point A to price point B. And what you're doing is you're setting the parameters by which you experience 100% and permanent loss in either direction. And because you can concentrate the liquidity as tight as you want or as wide as you want, you have the ability to control the velocity at which you accrue the fees, because more of your liquidity, more of your tokens are at the range that price is being traded at. So it's like more of your tokens are being used to be traded, which means you are entitled to a higher percentage of the fees because you're doing more of the work. You're providing more of a service to the market. And that also lets you buy and sell a little bit easier. Specifically in a bull market, you're going to be generally wanting to sell. So setting like a fairly tight liquidity range above the price where you think price will go eventually in the future. And then as price moves through that range, you're going to be earning passive income through the fees that are being generated, and then also selling out of that specific position. So that's a really, really powerful way to use V3 liquidity in a bull market to be able to generate income while also having other people pay you to sell your tokens.
Yeah, it really reminds me when I started, first started playing around with liquidity. It was Uniswap V3, and where you can see like, here's all fees you've earned so far. It's got that whole thing, which went back to V2 dexes, like, well, where'd it go? That was so nice. I'd like to have that. It's kind of like an estimate, or you got to look at the coin totals, you got to remove it, all that stuff with V2. But that part, and then the ranges too. It's like, yeah. And then some of it you can just put up, I think you can put up like all of what, like you don't have to do one. You can do, I remember, maybe that's a question too. In certain pools, is it dependent on the pool or otherwise? I remember putting up like, all this hex, just purely hex on like 100%. But I remember those certain ranges where I couldn't do it or otherwise. Is there like nuances with like putting up just one side of everything and just making fees off of that?
Yeah, so if you want to do a single-sided position, let's just use Hex USDC for the sake of this example. You want to put 100% Hex up in a position. The entirety of your position needs to be above where the price is at. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because what you're doing when you're placing liquidity in a pool is you're saying, hey, I'm willing to sell this asset at this price, or I'm willing to buy this asset at this price. Well, it doesn't make sense to put Hex below the price it's currently at. Like, say it's like it's a penny right now. It doesn't make sense to put it at 0.8 of a penny, because you would just sell it for the price it's at now, which is more, right? So you can only put up a single Hex on a single-sided position if it's above the price, and the same goes for below. So if you wanted to put USDC into it only, it would have to entirely be below the price, because it doesn't make sense to buy the token at a higher price that it is. You would just buy it off the market at the current price it is right now. And so anytime that your ranges crosses the current price, at that point, you would have to provide a ratio of those coins depending on how wide your range is on either side. So let's say you have a position that's really, really far to the right in terms of the price is higher and then just barely under the price. Most of your position is going to be Hex with a little bit of USDC. And then if you move it the opposite way, where only a little bit of your position range is above the price and most of it's below it, it's mostly going to be USDC and a little bit of Hex.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just thinking in the bull market, then is it kind of like, okay, I think the price is going to go up. I'll do 100% Hex. And if the price goes up, I'm making the fees. I still have my Hex, but I'm also making the fees in, whatever other pair it is, plus plus hex, right?
Well, if it goes into your range, you don't have all your hex anymore. You have a percent of USDC at that point, because the price that the amount that the price has moved through your range, that's literally meaning people are taking the hex that you put into the pool out and putting USDC into it, and that's the impermanent loss of it. But in the situation where we're looking to sell, that's actually what we're looking for.
Right. Okay, so you're basically taking profit on the way up while earning fees.
Yep.
With V3 in a upward trend during a bull, for example.
Exactly. And you're supporting price at the same time, right? You're providing liquidity for the people that want to enter the market to be able to do so. Because a lot of times you'll find when there's low liquidity, you actually get larger players who want to move in decent amount of money, 6 to 7 figures. They are off put by the high amount of slippage that exists when there's a low liquidity environment. Right. So you're actually providing a service to allow the larger players who are coming into our ecosystem to enter without incurring a bunch of slippage. And that's like what you're compensated for. That's what the fees that's what the fees are. That's why you're getting fees when you're providing liquidity in the first place.